This week I review a game that feels like it belonged in an arcade cabinet. City Crisis. The premise of it is fairly simple. You play as a helicopter pilot that needs to save the city from crises. Yep. But seriously, right from the menu screen, you can get that arcade feeling. The music has that upbeat, bass-heavy vibe that feels like it should be in a club. When choosing an option, the announcer will question what you want to do next. I don't know, kids these days may not know what I'm talking about, but those like me who grew up knowing what an arcade is will probably understand. Anyway, the main meat of the game consists of two different types of missions, rescues and chases. I'll start with the rescues. They are designed for you to complete two main objectives, extinguish fires and save civilians in danger. What happens is that you are given a location of a fire that had broken out. You then need to race over there and come up with a plan. Do you immediately start putting out the fire? Or do you save anyone stranded on the burning building's roof first? I always took a quick glance at each location before deciding. If any of the civilians were in any immediate danger of death, denoted by a red help icon in the little bubble above them, I saved them first before attempting to do anything with the fire. Saving civilians is important because that's going to be the way that you get more time to clear the stage. To save people, you simply hover over them, drop your partner down via rope, and get close enough to the person so that your partner can latch onto them. He'll signify when it's good to raise him. Your helicopter has a limited amount of seats, with the amount depending on the helicopter you selected prior to the mission beginning. So once you are full up, or on your way to the next fire, you'll want to keep an eye out for helipads to drop the people off. Once you do this, they are considered saved. You also need to make sure that you're not going too fast when attempting to drop your assistant. If you're traveling at full speed across the city and attempt to lower him, he'll tell you to slow down. I assume he doesn't want to feel what birds feel when they smack into a glass door at high velocities. Back to the fires. Putting them out is easy to understand. You need to make your copter level with the fire that you want to extinguish. You then just spray a limitless amount of water at it until it goes out completely. Well, the water may be unlimited, but you just can't spray it at will, as there is a meter that will deplete. The gauge replenishes on its own, but if you let it empty out completely, it takes a few extra seconds before being able to use it again. You can also use water missiles to attempt to put out larger areas. These are limited, and more are awarded to you when making initial pickups of any people. To use these, simply wait till you see a targeting reticule, and then I think it was R1 to launch one. It's simple. You can still fire them if you don't see the target, but then the accuracy isn't necessarily guaranteed, and it may strike a part of the building that's not on fire. So what happens if the fire gets out of control? Well, it'll explode, spreading out into additional nearby areas. Obviously, this is bad, as the quicker you get a fire put out, the more points you earn, and the more time you'll have for the next fire. To my knowledge, this is all the rescue stages consist of, putting out fires and rescuing people. Does it get repetitive? Sure, but it's not too bad. What I did tend to dislike is just how slow the game gets when putting out fires. Due to having a water gauge, I found myself tapping the water nozzle button to prevent the meter from emptying. And depending on how large the fire is, you might have to spray, stop, spray, stop. The fire extinguishing just kills the game's momentum. Sure, it's how it was designed, but truthfully, the style started to bore me after just a few stages. So what about the chase sequences? Are they any better? Well, for these, you simply need to keep the vehicle in question in view. For example, in the first chase mission, there's a bus hijacking, so you keep the bus in the view of the searchlight so that the cops know where to locate the criminal. Do this for long enough, and the cops catch the thug. Easy. And that was the only chase mission I've seen. Why? Well, to unlock further stages, you need to get high scores on the previous levels. I've only ever unlocked 3 rescue missions and the first chase mission. Seriously, I gotta say, I do not like this method of game progression. Although when I checked out a guide, there are apparently only 7 missions total, with only 2 of them being chase missions. So this game is not very long, and it made me feel a bit better that I got through at least half of them before being locked out due to apparently sucking at the game. You can probably tell by now that the graphics of the game aren't bad for the time, being that this was a very early PS2 game, released in June 2001. There's not a lot of textures to be had, but considering the game is played entirely from an overhead view, it's not really that big of a deal. The fires look good enough, and the fact that the smoke can hinder your view a bit is actually pretty neat. One little observation that I did make is that all the traffic drives on the left side of the road. What country does the city take place in, I wonder? Just curious. I know, it's a stupid detail to notice, but I notice stupid stuff like that. Overall, City Crisis isn't a bad game by any means, but it just didn't hold my interest. I would have stuck through it and finished it if you didn't need to do well in order to unlock later levels, but I just didn't feel like replaying stages. The way the game slows to a crawl when putting out fires was just a turnoff for me as well. But who knows, maybe this game is more of your style. If you enjoy arcade-style games like this, I'd say give it a go. It's also a cheap game to get a hold of, so it won't break your bank if it is something that looks good to you. Final score? 4 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.